Brandon Kyle Goodman, welcome to Live from Bed.
I'm so excited to be here.
Do you like when I use your full government name?
Whenever anyone does, I'm like, am I in trouble? But I'm like, I'm the one who chose this long ass stage
I feel like
name.
you can call me Jade Victoria Ivy if you want,
There
you know?
you go.
But I feel like, is that your stage name?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's my government name, but like my mom is Hazel Goodman, and so I was like trying to differentiate myself and
I
be
like
like
it.
Brandon Kyle Goodman.
I
but
think it's great.
Thank you.
I really like it. So we were just talking about hiking in LA. And
Yes.
So I said I'm allergic to hiking, and I meant like both figuratively and literally,
emotionally,
emotionally and spiritually.
yeah.
Like my worst fear about going out, other than going out, is that people will ask me to hike, and I will commit to a hike.
In LA, they always do. The first year here, I got suckered in. After the first year, I was like, it's a no.
Like
I just
being
have to say no.
hungover is one thing. Being hungover on a
On a
fucking
fucking
hike,
hike on a Sunday morning, I wouldn't. Please,
you
no.
want to off yourself.
No,
You're
I'm like, girl, you can come over after the hike.
100%.
Because then they want to hike, and then they were like, let's hike, and then go have salads. Girl, I want
Oh.
a burger.
No, it's like self-deprivation. Like, what do you mean? Like, what
Girl,
have you done
after
wrong?
we hike, I want a full burger. Get out of here.
But you're an allergy.
I am an allergy baby, which a couple years ago, I had because I have like a lot of like nasal stuff. So I decided to get the allergy test. And my allergist at the end was like, I'm so sorry. You're allergic to everything. My back was on fire.
Okay, how have we never met in the allergist office
I
or whatever
know.
they're called? But I am allergic to 54 out of all 54 outdoor allergens.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, I'm not made for this life.
I'm not at all. Like, it's like every grass, every tree,
Yeah.
every weed, dust, like roaches, like all of like the pea, like anything, beans. Like I'm allergic.
Like, forget every question I have to ask you because I literally could talk to you about this for fucking ever. So the allergy thing, no one gets it. If you don't have allergies, you don't
get it. They just think you're being like a little bitch. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
No,
like,
you have a full-fledged flu on any given day of the week.
Did your allergist say, she was like, you can go, she basically was like, when you go outside, you should go
Clothes?
Well, not outdoor clothes. It was like, you can go between like 7 and 8 in the morning. And
Yeah,
like,
you're like, oh, great, fantastic. Otherwise, you're going to be completely
yes,
anaphylactic
otherwise
shock.
you'll be, yeah.
Yes.
And now I have an EpiPen and all the things. It's like, because I grew up knowing about my shellfish allergy.
Okay, that's
But that
one
was kind of
thing.
it. And then when I got tested, it was like, no, baby, you're allergic to anything that God made, not for you.
No, literally, all of God's creation.
It is not for you, baby.
100%. So
Yeah.
I married someone. So my husband has celiac disease, but like the real gluten allergy.
My husband has.
Shut the fuck up.
Yes, for like the first couple years, he would like have diarrhea, and I'd be like, "Girl, you got to get this checked out." And
You're
he finally got
lying
it checked
to
out.
me.
It's
Okay,
gluten allergies.
So, but it's a whole different beast.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, so the fact that you have this food allergy
Yes.
and I have this insane outdoor
Yes.
allergy, it's like, it's insane.
It's crazy.
Like, we live in a home of allergies.
We can't we've stopped being able to like eat together. Like, we can't order the same things because it either has gluten or like it has soy or like,
Right.
and one of us has an allergy, so we completely order separate
and
meals
you're
now.
fucked. Have you gotten your septum fixed or anything
I
like that?
haven't, which is probably the next. I was like trying to see if the allergy, because the allergy pills are like 3 to 5 years.
Let's
It's
talk
little
about
doses.
allergy pills. I could talk to you for an hour about allergy
Yes.
pills because every single other allergy pill other than Zyzol, I
Uh-huh.
feel, Zyzol came out later in life for me.
Okay.
Is like eating a Skittle. Claritin,
Yes.
Allegra, all that bullshit doesn't work.
Doesn't do. So I was on Allegra D for a long time. And then they were like, you can't stay on that for a long, long time. So then Claritin tends to work, although my doctor was like, it's basically a placebo.
Right.
And I forget which one she preferred. I think it's Zyrtec is what she prefers.
I will die on this hill.
Yeah.
Every other allergy pill doesn't do shit. I got allergy shots. I've done
Yes.
the full 9 yards. I've done everything. Nothing works.
I'm doing the Grass Tech and the
What's that?
So Grass Tech is like, it's basically a small dose of grass because I'm trying to build my immunity up so it's Grass Tech.
Invite me to whatever you're
I
doing.
have to.
need
I will
to
let
come.
you know. I'll take a screenshot and send it to you. And the other one
Please.
is Odectra, and that's specifically for dust. So you're supposed to take it. I take the Odectra in the morning and the Grass Tech in the evening. And after like 3 to 5 years, you're supposed to be able to build an immunity. But it's a commitment because I was like, maybe I don't hate hiking. Maybe if it was more comfortable,
Right.
I
Hiking
would
hates
enjoy
us.
it. Hates us.
Yeah.
I'm camping. You can keep that.
Yeah.
But
Ugh.
maybe, the little hike.
I'd
the little
rather
fire,
die.
I would maybe, please, y'all. I'm not making no beans over no little fire. I'm not doing it. But I would walk with y'all up the hill of Runyon or Fry.
But can we talk about that? Like, okay, you're walking up the hill.
Yeah.
Then you get to like a moderately okay view.
Yes.
You know, like
Don't you hate it?
Like-
Somebody did that to me where we walked up this massive hill to like get a view of Silver Lake, and we got there and they were like,
View of Silver
and I was
Lake.
like, we could have drove up here easy. We didn't need to walk, first of all. Second of all, now I want my burger. Like, I've walked the cardio of it all.
And you have to walk down.
You have to walk down.
And like, is walking down even like anything
No,
beneficial?
because you got to squeeze the core, and then it's like, oh my God, I don't want to stumble. And if I trip, now.
Then I'm out for a season.
And those Silver Lake hills.
Forget it.
Those are the San Francisco hills. They're just too steep.
Bitches love hiking.
They
though.
love it.
I
they're bored.
hate it. I'm like, what else is missing from your life? Like, I literally want to do a deep dive. Like, what else is going
Maybe
on?
let's go to therapy together. Like,
I'm like, have you ever watched Bravo on the couch with an ice cream sandwich?
Because that's everything.
I'd rather do that.
Everything. I'd rather do that. I found at Levain Bakery they make like baguettes with butter and jam.
Do they really?
They do. It's so good. It's just
So you'll
a
get
baguette
your
with
husband
butter.
a gluten-free
Absolutely,
Levain cookie,
exactly,
which they make. Yes.
And then I will get my regular cookie, and then I'll get the baguette with the butter and the jam. Put
Fuck
on the
me
Bravo,
up with a baguette.
a little edible, and we're having a good time.
Right.
I don't need to hike.
Are you my soulmate?
Baby, I think
Like,
we're supposed to be married.
You have allergies. You like Bravo, and I'm like,
yes.
oh my God. What are you on these days? I'm obsessed with Lost Farms edibles.
Lost Farms. I can see the. Oh, I can see the.
You know,
yes,
the
I've had them. Yeah,
it's busy branding.
I love their brand. Wild is also really good. I use their sleep.
WYLD.
Love them.
With the antlers, right?
Yes. Yeah. And Camino is a good edible.
Camino is a great. I've just got on the Camino.
Camino. The Bliss Sour. Sorry, the Sour Chill.
Sour Chill. That's exactly what I bought. And I finished. They're all out. Literally in my bedside table right now. They're all out. Because
they're the best.
I always thought it was too like weak for because I'm like a seasoned.
Yeah, same.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm like in
heavy
this,
hitter. Like, give me.
Yeah, I'm like no. I literally go in and I'm like, what's your most potent?
Always.
Thing?
What's the
but
strongest?
They look at me and they're like, oh yeah, I'm sure you're asking like what you know. They
like,
never.
Don't judge.
Don't judge.
I know.
I'm like I can fucking take it.
Yes.
So I used to have a bong.
Okay.
And I threw out my bong because I'm here for efficiency. Like my husband is like a joint smoker. And
I love a joint. I love the routine of grinding it and packing it. I love the routine.
He loves the whole thing. I have friends like that love the whole thing. They're like it's like a beautiful sacred tradition ritual. I'm like trying to get like high immediately. I'm like trying to like bang for my buck immediate.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk about Real Housewives for a second because I'm like obsessed.
Please.
I wonder for you, which franchise would you join, irrespective of where you live?
Oh, irrespective of where I live. So I feel like the Atlanta girlies would chew me up, although that's where I'd want to be. I guess what you have to think about is like who would you want to be around versus who would you participate? Yes. Yeah. So I don't think I would thrive in Atlanta or Potomac because I would just be kikiing and laughing.
100%.
And also trying to not get into trouble.
I'd just be in the background like
please
every
do not
second.
eat me up.
Yes.
Please. But I think I would thrive in New York.
Okay.
I think because I'm
New or
from
old?
there. Both actually. I think I would thrive. I think I would have been able to go toe to toe with Ramona and handle it down. I really? I believe that about myself. I don't know if it's true, but I think I could have handled old New York, old Alex, season 1 Alex with the monster shoes.
Oh, please. even Louis Vuitton makes mistakes. Of course, please.
Yes. I would absolutely with Sonia
what a loss
Countess
to the community. Alex McCord was.
She was before her time.
We
didn't understand what the dynamic was quite yet, but I wish they'd bring her back.
I just can't believe they're still married.
They are?
Yes.
Wow, what a couple. And Aviva, is it Aviva with the leg? Absolutely, what a villain. Is it Carol? Will always be one of the faves,
of course.
But also New York. I for sure would handle with ease.
New York. I'm like, okay, that's like a cakewalk. That's like okay, that's normal-ish. But going toe to toe with Ramona.
With Ramona, that'd be hard. But I would do it.
I think you could hold your own.
I think I could hold my own. The thing is, whenever the HBICs come at you, whether that's a Ramona, a Nene, a Lisa, like you cannot back down.
Okay, so if you complete this sentence for me.
Yes, please.
If I stopped blank, it'd be over for you bitches. Meaning, like, if I stopped, like, self-sabotaging. If I learned math. Like, for me, it'd be like, if I learned math, it'd be over for you bitches.
Baby.
If I, like, stopped doing X, Y, and Z.
Yes. Oh, yeah. If I was better at math, you bitches would be in the gutter. You bitches would be in the... I would scam the fuck out of y'all. Honestly, I think that if I conquer these allergies, it's over for y'all. Because if I can be outside too, ooh, because I'm really that bitch indoors. But if I could be outdoors, barbecues.
I always blame like my clinical depression on me wanting to be inside.
Yeah.
It's because
It's
I
allergies.
had allergies.
Yeah.
100%.
Absolutely. We would be I'd be at the Hollywood Bowl every week. Like I would be
Fuck me up at the
partying
Hollywood
down
Bowl.
with
Yes.
that Hollywood Bowl. It's too outside.
It's too
It's too
outside.
outside. Y'all
Because the
gotta
thing
put a
is
cover
like people
on.
think you're sick and you're not sick, but you might as well be sick.
But you might as well because it's uncomfortable. I'm like sneezing, I'm coughing.
Nonstop.
I'm saying if I get these allergies under control, it's a wrap
really
for
would
everyone.
be.
Yeah.
100.
Yeah,
It is
yeah.
my Achilles heel.
It is.
It is
like,
the weakest part about
I
me.
can't go that early. I can't go that late. I
And you
can't go to
can't
that
predict
thing.
it.
Can't predict it.
Totally.
Yeah, no,
Can you
yeah.
go horseback riding?
I would love to, but no.
Yeah, no, me neither.
No. Yeah, that's like the horse is kicking up dust, and I'm allergic
Hello?
literally to dust.
We're allergic to the horse
To
and
the horse
dust.
and the dust. Like I can't play.
It's terrible for
Yeah.
us. Okay, so if we could kick allergies, it'd be over for you bitches. Okay. What is the most annoying quality? Like if you were to say my most annoying quality about me as a friend.
Ooh. My most annoying quality, I would be so curious what my friends would say. I think it's that,
No,
like,
it'd be terrifing. I'm like,
I
I'm
do
not
have
open to
like a
that
dream
kind
of like messaging a friend and being like, what could I do better at? But I'm afraid they're gonna be like, well, do you have something to tell me? And I'm like, I really don't. My friends are great, but I do always want to know, like, is there a way that I could show up better for
I'm
you?
only open to constructive criticism when it's a compliment. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm open to your feedback as long as it's
as long as you're like hyping me up.
You're
gassing me up.
amazing.
I think that like although I'm available and like you can text, you can call, and I'll show up. I think it's hard to like find me in real life because the schedule is like crazy, and so I feel like as a friend, it's like I'm like in 3 weeks. Like I'm that friend that's like, can we schedule it?
I'm a chronic canceller too.
Oh yeah, I'll reschedule. I'll reschedule at least once, maybe twice.
Yeah, a
on you,
reschedule
yes.
for
Yeah, yeah.
sure. I'm never like canceling like dead in the you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah.
And who knows? Like I might be feeling like not 100%.
Which I always say to my friends, like, what is softest? And if it's not soft for you to meet up right now, like if it feels like, oh God, this is gonna be a heavy lift, I would rather you cancel. Like it does to me, it doesn't impact, like I know you love me and I love you, but like life is lifing. And if today it's hard and you're like, this is not gonna feel restorative, then cancel.
Okay, there are two things I want to say in that statement.
Yeah.
What is softest is made my whole nervous system just go,
right?
yes.
That is my like new word for like the last year, and it is the thing that I value most. Like I'm always asking, how do we make this softer? What is the softest version of this? Like how do we? Because it's like, what is like life is hard. We
Yes.
don't need to make it harder.
But even you saying, I know you love me, I've talked about this in another episode because someone said that to me like months ago.
Yeah.
And it rocked my world because I was like, what if we all functioned from that place? Like, I know
Yeah.
you love me. Like, don't worry about
Yes.
like what you show up to, what you can show up to.
1,000%.
Like most of the time, the people that we interact with are like, let me keep moving the goalpost.
Yes, but
until,
then you
like-
burn out, and then you fall, and then like then you're useless, or you show up and you're like
Yes.
not in the right state of mind. It's like I love you enough to say stay home
I
and restore
love
yourself.
that.
Yeah.
What is softest?
What
Because
is
I love
softest?
there's something that you said that really stuck with me on your Instagram. Oh, I've spent my whole life having to be strong by way of being hard. For
Mm.
acceptance, for safety, for survival. But now I want to thrive, so I choose to be soft.
Yes.
Where did that come
Yes.
from? Tell me like how did you learn that?
I think it's like life has been beating my ass for a long time, as it does for all of us. And you get to a point where you're like, okay, something's got to change. And I don't think life is going to change. Like, especially as we get older, it's like watching people's parents pass away or
Yeah.
people's parents get older, watching people get diagnosed with different ailments. And it's like, all right, this thing isn't necessarily going to get easier. But can I get softer? Like if I'm hard and rigid and life is hard, then life is going to beat my ass every time. It's going to make me say uncle every time. It's far more well versed in what it is than I am. This is my first time here. And so to me, it's like I've learned that softness allows me to actually think clearer and allows me to show up better because I'm giving to myself or I'm giving to others, and we're moving in a way that is with flow as opposed to being against something.
Yes.
And so it's just like, oh, if I can be softer in this moment, or if I can choose the softer option, that is always going to serve me in the long run.
But how radical as a black man.
Yes, as a black
especially,
person, yeah.
To try to be soft. Like
That's also part of it, is that
Mhm.
like, depending on the labels of your identity, you are forced to be strong in your blackness and your womanhood and your whatever. And it's like, well, who told us that? Who taught
Totally.
us that? And can I break that? I think that like, I've had to be hard, but now I always talk about updating my operating system. So 37-year-old me and 15-year-old me have two very different lives, but I'm still operating as the 15-year-old. And so the 15-year-old is holding up all the defenses and preparing to be bullied and preparing to have to fight. And the 37-year-old has built a life where he is a facialist. So do I need, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like,
Yes.
do you have to be as hard as you, and it's like, oh, I maybe don't have to be. So is there a way that I can like loosen this a little bit and like acknowledge that my life is not requiring me to be that hard? It doesn't mean life isn't hard, but it's not requiring me to fight anymore.
Totally.
You
It's
know?
like the things that are adaptive to you in childhood and preteen and whatever teenagehood, like are no longer serve you as an adult. And they
Yes.
actually can be so destructive.
They can be, because you've worked so hard to overcome those things. But then I talk about this all the time. Like, we don't update the operating system. And so you've worked hard to overcome and break the generational cycles, but then you're still operating as though people are going to come at you. And it's like, I've actually done a great job building my boundaries. And I actually am really in touch with myself and self aware. So why have I not updated this to reflect who I am now?
Right. And I've built this world. I've broken all these boundaries or
Yes.
barrier, whatever, like all these stigmas, I've done all this work, but yet I'm
Yes.
still showing up as this terrified 15-year-old.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think a lot of us do that. We still show up.
Totally.
We're still have our boxing gloves on. It's like, no, I've actually built a really delicious wall that keeps all the things I have to fight out. And
Yes.
and the only thing that comes in are the housewives and the friends and the edibles. And
Babe.
so I can be soft.
Yes.
You know, and if anything requires me to be hard, one, because life, I can deal with it then. But if it's like a person, then like they don't need to be around. And I can just like cut that out.
100%. So when would you say was the time in your life, the decade, the 5 years, the
Yeah.
1 year, that you were the least yourself?
Ooh. Wow, I think it's most of my life I've been least myself. The journey to finding myself probably started in my mid-20s, but like in terms of like arriving at myself, it's been in the last 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
So I would say most of my life, because you know, it's the hiding of your queerness, the reckoning with my blackness, the coming to terms with being non-binary, like
Yes.
all those things keep you from yourself. And we call it coming out, but I really am thinking of it as like coming back to myself. It's like all these things I was born this way, to
Yes.
use that. But then you hide and you push things back because of how the world is reacting to you or fighting you. And so now in my 30s, I'm like coming back to myself. Oh, this version of gender expression has always been there. If I go back and back and back, there were moments where like I was wearing my mom's wigs and
Right.
then I was wearing boy clothes. Like I was doing it.
But there just wasn't the term.
There wasn't
right?
the
Yeah.
term and there wasn't the freedom and the safety
Yeah.
to do so. So I think all of this for me is coming back to self. So I would say now I'm more myself than I've ever been. And my goal is to continue to become more of myself with each year that goes by. It's evolving, right? Like I will be 37, my first time being 37, my last time being 37, my first time being 38, my last time being 38. So life will bring new things that I just don't know about and will bring me closer to myself if I'm engaged in the right way.
Right.
Yeah.
So my favorite, not insult, but like when I'm describing someone that I think is narrow-minded
Yeah.
or, you know, whatever, I'm like, oh, it's their first lifetime.
Yes.
Do you think this is your first lifetime or you think this is, I feel like you've been
I
here
think
before.
this is like, I think I've been here before.
Yeah.
I think that frame of thinking has allowed me to also be softer, because I really do think that some of it, like we're all here to learn a certain lesson and we get fucked up when I think that you're supposed to be learning the lesson that I'm learning or where you're supposed to be at the level that I'm at. And it's not about like better or worse. It's just like we have different frequencies and we're here to accomplish different things. And I can't hold you to that thing.
Yes.
I have to hold you to whatever your lesson is. And I have to hold myself to whatever my lesson is. So I do think for me, this is probably, you know, the 6th or 7th time.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like,
or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, I'm learning a set of different lessons that like somebody else my age might be learning something different because it's their 4th time or their 10th time, whatever it is. So I do believe that I believe in reincarnation. I believe
Yes.
that we've been
Me
here
too,
before.
baby. Me
Versions
too.
of ourselves have been here. And I believe that that helps me to be soft.
Yes.
It helps me like I'm always going to hold people accountable for things, but it also lets me not absorb the behavior.
Interesting. Yeah. I was
Yeah.
just talking to Gigi Gorgeous and she
Mm.
like is unbelievable.
Yes.
But I was talking to her about like how clumsy people can be with their words and their terminology and all of that
Yes.
stuff. And she was saying that like, you know, and the people in the LGBTQIA, you know, community there's a hypersensitivity to people that like they can better discern if someone is just misusing a term like by
Yes.
mistake or
Yes.
just or being direct. You know?
1000%.
So when did you come out as non-binary?
I did. So it was in 2020. I was on Instagram basically doing all these videos around race and Black Lives Matter. And one of the big things I was talking about was being an ally, or more so an advocate or a co-conspirator.
Yes.
And what I was saying is, like, if you don't know something, learn about it.
Yeah.
So like, what are the sexual orientations or the ways of living that you aren't familiar with? Fucking YouTube it. What shows are you watching? What books are you reading? What protagonists are you engaging with? Start to do that. And so when I looked at the queer community, I was like, oh, I don't know anything about asexuality. I don't really know a lot about the trans experience. I don't
Yeah.
really know about non-binary. So I'm telling all these people to like learn about Black things. Let me go learn about the areas that I don't. So in that learning about, more and going to YouTube specifically to like listen to people of those experiences speak about their experience. So I wanted to hear about the trans experience from a trans person. I wanted to hear about asexuality from somebody who's asexual, and same with non-binary. And when I went down that rabbit hole of people talking about discovering their NB-ness, or it was like, oh, that's me. Like it was in it shook me, because I was like, oh, this experience is a 1-to-1. And video after video, I was like, huh, huh, huh. And it was like suddenly all the dots were connecting, and my husband walked out as I'm like watching another video, and like there are tears, and he's like, what's wrong? And I was like, I think I'm non-binary. And he was like, oh, beautiful. which was lovely, because
How you know you're married to the right
person, because
Yes.
I think what my fear was, oh my God, I have embraced my Blackness, my gayness. I'm a Black gay man. I love that. And now I'm saying I might have to give up this manhood for non-binary, and will people accept it? And what does that mean? And so when he was so supportive, it made it less scary. And then I was able to connect with some friends online who just talked me through it. And one of them said, keep it to yourself for right now. And they acknowledged that like being Black, being queer, and then being non-binary was going to be its own uphill battle. And so their advice was, you can keep it, which secret and private aren't the same, right? You can keep
love
it.
that.
Secret and private are very different. And so it's like, you
true.
can keep it private as you figure it out, as you learn about it. And then when you're ready, you can tell people. So it probably took like a year before I actually said anything out loud to people, to publicly about it.
That's so interesting to me, because I even messed up a second ago. I was like, oh, you're a Black man. Like,
Yeah.
that's the last thing I ever want to do
Sure.
is mess up in that way. So when you say, like, I know your pronouns are he, they,
Yes.
right? So he and they, are they used at different times? Because if I were to say, like, would it be wrong to say, like, oh, he came over to my house?
No,
or would it be
wouldn't.
they came over to my house?
Either one is fine.
Okay.
So I use both pronouns.
Yeah.
What I say, and I wrote about this in my book, You Gotta Be You.
Yeah. By the way, I love that. Yes.
I do a whole chapter about it, because the way I break it out, and I'll start by saying every person who identifies as non-binary will have their own relationship to pronouns. So if you're curious how they use it, you ask that person, which this is exactly the beautiful thing to do. So for me, I say that I use both pronouns because I recognize that perception, when I show up, people will perceive me as a he, him, his. I will be seen, like, I'm not very androgynous. I'm pretty much male presenting. So I know that you will see me as a man. And so I'm not as hung up on the pronouns for myself. And so I don't want to navigate people fumbling and feeling closed off and whatever. So it's like, he, I get it. He, him, that's fine. They, I always say, is for me. You can use it. I love when people use it. But the they pronouns are really for me acknowledging that there's this piece of me that is not a man, that I am non-binary. And so I say I use both, but the they is more for me. I welcome anyone to use it. But he is for the world, because I understand the world we live in. And that might change. Like, I might in a year be like, it's a they, them, and that's it.
Period.
But for right now, especially in the transition of stepping into it, it's like there are a lot of other things for me that are more pressing than my pronouns. For me, in my experience. For somebody else, the pronouns are it. For me, I'm like, there are other things that are far more pressing that I need to navigate than whether you call me he, him, she, her. Like, that doesn't matter as much to me. So then I'm just I try to offer a buffet, and you use it as you wish.
Okay, I really feel like I just learned so much, because I was like, okay, so like he and they are like kind of used in the same way, right? But I'm like, okay, so the he is more so for like it's your grace to like the people
Absolutely.
that may
Because I
mess
meet
up.
somebody and I'm like, I don't want to have to give you a non-binary lesson. You know, like when we're out to dinner and somebody meets me the first time and I'm like, they, them, and they're like, what does that mean? I'm like, I don't want to get into
That's
it.
our generation too. We're like so like all these fucking boomers around here.
So it's just like,
yeah.
he is fine. Like we don't have to get into it. And then when there's, when there are people that do know me or that are close to me, then they always use the they, them. And that's beautiful. And I appreciate that and respect that. But it's just helps me have less hiccups in the world and less labor, if you will.
Do you find yourself correcting your other people more now, or like increasingly so?
I correct them when it comes to like man and person.
Yes.
So like I'll like and you saw how I did it. It's like it's not like a like I'm just like person and I'll say it back.
Yes.
But that's usually when I correct the pronouns.
No,
I don't really
so
get
appreciate
into.
that. Like,
I'll repeat back person.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah,
like, that's a brilliant way. I mean, there's a right or wrong way, but I'm like that was really.
It seems to be like the easiest way, and then it's like we don't have to stop the flow, and it's like all right, cool, great, and we move on.
I mean, that whole thing is just so interesting to me because I like so badly want to show up in the right way and do the right thing.
Yes,
and I think there are people that don't.
And and that's to Gigi's point. Like when people don't, because when you start talking about, well, it's grammatically not, then you don't give a fuck and get out of my face.
Right.
Like that energy, like get out of my face.
Yes.
But when somebody's like trying and they messed up, it's like, yeah, we don't need to stew on it.
When someone makes it about them and it's like, oh, it's too hard for me, so I'm gonna just miss.
Then that's like not the vibe. But when somebody's like trying and they mess up, you give them grace. I mess up still.
Yeah.
Like my producer on my podcast is Pan, and I labeled him straight, and I was like, oh, and it was, oh my god, so it was like, oh, an apology, but it's like, just because I'm queer doesn't mean that I can't fuck up somebody's labels, so if I need grace, I would also extend grace to people who are not in the community as well.
Yeah, because I think there is such a like, a fear for people that genuinely are really trying and like just don't know, like, make a mistake or whatever. It is so shameful. It feels so shameful. It feels so like, oh my god, I offended them. I so didn't mean to.
And that fear, I think, keeps people from connecting for real. And I think that's part of the he, they pronouns is like, I actually would prefer that we connect than get tripped up on pronouns. Do you know? And so like, if it helps for me to give you more pronoun options so that we can just focus on the heart to heart, then I'll rather do that. I
never would have guessed that that's what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I thought, I just was like, maybe there's just a way that I'm using they or he.
No. For me, it's like, that's just like, it gives you more options, less room for you to fuck up, and more space for us to actually connect on the things that really matter to me in this moment.
Right.
Because, there are times where my pronouns will matter, but most of the time it doesn't. You know, for me, it's like, it's whatever you want. I'm more concerned about Jade and Brandon than I am she and he or she and they.
Right. But it is like one of those things that, I think is so helpful to know, like, oh, okay, but this is actually the correct way I'd like to be identified.
Yes.
But like, I will give you grace if you are trying and you just miss name. Okay. Wow. I'm so glad I had like that. Like, you made me feel so comfortable to ask you that, because I was like, before we even sat down, I was like, shit, like, I don't want to mess up. I don't want to say this incorrectly.
I know. And that energy, right? It like tightens us a little bit. And I'm like, pronouns are important,
Yes, very.
Absolutely. But I try to, like, for myself, I'm like, I know what I'm giving. I like, I think that if I came here a little more androgynous with makeup on and my, maybe in something that we would consider female clothes, you would probably sooner assume they or she. But because I know that's not how I'm showing up, then I'm like, well, I also have to give a little here. Like that's just how I'm feeling. Like a little empathy. Like, let me give a little,
But has your family caught on?
My family and I, well, that's a complicated.
Okay.
The family is not. We're not in the same synergy alignment. Of my chosen family for sure.
Your
Immediately,
friends,
yes,
they get it. They're like on it.
Immediately supportive. Immediately got it. In fact, most of them were not surprised. They were like, "Yeah, we were just kind of waiting."
But when you talk to you're like, oh, "Okay, 100%."
You're like, "Yeah, it makes sense."
There's one way you present it, and there's like, "Okay, you sit down with the person."
Yes,
you're like, "Okay, 100%.
And you're like, "Okay, I get that." There's an energy, which I really think is what. To me, the heart of two-spirit and non-binary is that it's really about the energy. Like, the pronouns are kind of irrelevant, but it's this acknowledgement of like, I'm not in this box of man or woman. It's a little more or a lot more nuanced than that. It's a lot more there's just a lot more happening.
100%.
And what you want to acknowledge that there's a lot more happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like for non-binary, I should probably know more than I do about like where we're at like currently in our,
Yeah.
are you able to change your license to non-binary?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that there are some markers that are beginning to roll out. I don't know if they're in the US. They might be, and I should know, but I know markers are beginning to roll out. And I think what's interesting is there are curious conversations about like your safety.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you now have that marker that you're non-binary or whatever it is, and you're showing that to the wrong TSA agent or the wrong cop, like so I think that there's a debate on like, do you want to put that marker on? Because yes, for me, it represents who I am, but also my safety when it comes to my license and who I'm showing that to is something to weigh for sure. So I think that it's so layered and nuanced.
Right.
Yeah.
That is so interesting. I never even thought of that. Like that because it's true. Like there are a lot of idiot like cops,
you get pulled over by the
whole
cop
thing.
and like you hand your thing and they see like you're now navigating something very different, or you could be.
I think you're such a gift. The way that you approach even just sex, like and all of that, like just so what? Like, there's like so what, like like there's more to it. There's like connection that we're missing out on by not being open about these things, by not being able to talk about all these scary things that are not really as scary.
They're not scary.
Right?
We
like,
just don't talk about it.
Right. Like people are so afraid, but even like your energy is so welcoming in that way. And I think that is such a fucking gift that I'm so grateful for, even for just us sitting down right now.
Thank you.
So, and it speaks to your podcast, which is called Tell Me Something Messy.
Yes.
So we're not afraid of the mess. Like on this show, trust me, we celebrate the mess in all forms.
Yes.
I love how you really make it like this safe place, but you also share a lot of your anecdotal experience, right? Do you find that most of your community is right on board, or do you get a lot of?
Yeah, I think that's why I kept doing it, because it started on Instagram like 4 years ago and people kept engaging and kept sharing, and so I was sharing and it helped me because it was received so well. It started to dissipate the shame and the judgment,
happens.
and then we were like, oh well, now we're creating the space that's like non-judgmental and that's really easy to be in. And I was like, oh, I want more of that. And that happens by me being vulnerable as well. And I think a lot of times this has been my thing with like consuming work in the sex space, is that I found that, either it's like super raunchy, which I love and my show is that, or it's like super clinical, which is also wonderful and educational. But I often find that sometimes the host won't be as revealing about their own stuff.
Totally.
They're talking about somebody else's stuff.
Yes.
And it's like, well, if you're asking the audience to buy into this already uncomfortable conversation, I think you have to give of yourself too. I don't know if you get to like, because if the person who is facilitating the conversation is holding back, then it just inherently makes it feel, whether it's conscious or not, I think as a consumer, as an audience, you're like, well, something's unsafe here then.
Absolutely.
I can't share of myself. They're not sharing. So like,
absolutely. I hid behind that a lot. Like this is my 4th year doing this podcast.
Yeah.
And for the first year, I was interviewing solely. And I was just like, you tell me all your...
You tell me, your stuff.
Your dirty secrets, essentially. And I'm like, okay, and I'll just sit here telling you how important dirty secrets are, but not sharing my own.
Yes.
And you're right. It is like this thing where like, it's this shift where you're like, oh, it makes the audience connect so much more.
And I think it also makes the guests more comfortable, because it's like, if they're about to dig deep and tell me their messy stories, like, baby, you're not alone.
Right, exactly.
Like,
and that's why you started the show in the fucking first place. Because you're like, I wanted people to feel less alone, including me.
Yes.
So you have, tell me if I'm wrong, but you have your husband.
Yeah.
And then you have your boyfriend.
I do, yeah.
I love that so much. So was that a conversation with both of them to be like, this is what I'm going to share? Are there any boundaries that they put in place for that?
Yes. Yeah. So there were definitely conversations before I even talked publicly about the polyamory, making sure that both of them were fine. I wrote an essay on my Substack about it. I had both of them read it first to like approve it, and then once they were like, we're down, then I was able to share it. And so there are like a couple boundaries, and this is how I feel in general, which is I will talk about my sex life, but I'll never name the other person, because they're not there to talk about it. And so because people know who my husband is, and I will keep my boyfriend private on purpose, but because people know who my husband is, I don't always talk about necessarily our sex unless he's present. Like an episode is dropping next week about us as a polyamorous couple, and it's with him. So we'll go all the way in. But if he's not there, then I feel a little weird talking about his side of things.
Right.
Yeah.
So is he in a relationship with your boyfriend as well?
No. So we're not a throuple.
Okay.
We that just it just doesn't work. Shout out to the throuples, but for us,
threes in general don't work.
Like I love a good threesome, but to like be emotionally connected and have us all have like this equilibrium doesn't work for us. So we have separate relationships. So he has his own partner, and I have my boyfriend.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
So how far into your marriage did you get into another relationship?
Oh, so my boyfriend and I have been together for a year. My husband and I celebrated 9 years in June, so like 8 years in.
And there's no jealousy. Like he's not like...
This is such a great question because we talk about this. I tend to not be, and my husband has said this, not be jealous. He has a little more room for jealousy, but his jealousy only works which is grown, but like it'd be if he sees it. So like he just like if I came home and was like, I made out with that, he's like, great, beautiful.
Sure.
But he like can't see me holding somebody's hand or kissing somebody.
Okay, fair.
That's usually been it. But now it's grown. Like they've met, we've had dinner together, and like I was physical with my boyfriend, and like it didn't rock my husband.
Were you nervous for them to meet?
I was.
Yeah.
I think we were all nervous because it was the first time that we were doing it. The first time in our marriage that we're introducing a third, or the idea of another relationship. And then of course my boyfriend was also like, what does that mean?
Right.
So we were all nervous, and then it happened, and it was the most beautiful night, one of like most memorable evenings in my life, because it went so smoothly and so easy. And it was like, oh, this is why I love you both.
Totally.
You're like, oh, clearly you would get along because I love you and I love you. Of course you would. Why would this not work out?
Like as a cis woman, I think to myself, okay, like if I were to get a boyfriend other than my husband, he'd be all the things my husband, you know what I mean? Like he'd be like, if my husband's
they'd probably be besties.
Dirty, but I'm saying like if my husband like is messy, this guy would be clean.
Yes,
like so is it the same for you? Like
so like what's funny is that like they are polar opposites when you put them side by side.
Right.
But then when you start to like get into like the nitty gritty, you're like, oh, y'all are the same soul, the same spirit.
Yeah.
So like the external is different, but it's like, oh, there's clearly an energy that I'm attracted to.
So like on any given week, how many nights are you spending with your husband versus boyfriend?
Most of the time I'm with my husband because we live with each other.
Yeah.
So I see my boyfriend usually like twice a week.
Okay.
So I'll spend the night once a week, maybe twice, but we'll see each other like twice a week, talk all the time. And then I'm with my husband for the rest of the time.
This is like such a beautiful experience.
It is. And it's like, and I think that's why I moved forward with it, because I was like, I know what monogamy is, and I've done it, and I've seen it, and it's beautiful. But I also am interested in this other thing, and I have one life. So let me try it. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But eyes are open and over communicate.
I think that's the key.
That's the key. I always say over communicate, state the obvious. There are no dumb questions. And that's the only way to work, I think, in any relationship, but especially if you enter into non-monogamy, polyamory.
Totally.
Over communicate, state the obvious. There are no dumb questions. And so, we're all of us with our eyes open, talking about this thing, checking in. How are you feeling? And it's been surprising how much I can love. It's like it's really expanded what I thought love was, because I've grown up with this idea that you can only love one person,
right? Which
is not true, right? People have more than one kid, people have more than one best friend.
Totally.
So of course, why would that stop in romance? And so it's been beautiful to have that theory that I could, but then to like a year later be like, oh no, it's working and it's possible.
But you must be busy. You're booked and busy, honey. You must
Absolutely.
be fucking busy.
Because I'm in a third relationship with my career, as you well know, right? Like, and that is, she's very demanding.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, so like in my free time, I see my husband and my boyfriend.
Exactly.
Most of my time, I am with my career.
Because you ask on Mondays, like, tell me something good or messy.
Good or messy.
Good or messy. Mm-hmm. And I saw that you went to a sex party.
I did.
So a sex party, first of all, is there food?
At this one, there was.
There was food.
Yes, it depends. So the thing is, I would like to one day throw my own very luxurious sex party.
Where would you put?
It would have to be like in a really gorgeous house, but also like cozy. There would for sure have to be food.
Yes.
Food that wouldn't trigger your stomach, right?
Of course.
There are also like rest areas and good music and play areas.
Nice bathroom.
Yes. Clean bathroom.
Yes.
You know, like I want like a luxurious vibe. So I've been like going to different parties to like see what they do and how they do it. So this one I went to was incredible. They did have food. It was open bar. So you had to submit your photos and your full like name on your license, which I was slightly nervous about because I was like, are they gonna like curate it to be like one type of person? When I got there, it was honestly the most diverse in age, in body, in ethnicity than I had ever seen. I think it was for safety because they have your photo and your name, people weren't doing weird shit.
Right.
Which I think can always be a concern in those mixed spaces is like, who's going to be the weirdo? But in that space, I have never had people ask consent more, like enthusiastic consent. Can I do this? Is this okay? Do you like this? Like it was the most, you would think like this place where people are like in swings and getting fucked in corners would be like just nasty and raunchy and disrespectful, but it was disrespectful in the best way.
Totally.
And respectful in the best way.
I love that.
Which is like
sometimes
such a vibe.
You want to be disrespected.
Sometimes you want to be disrespected. If I'm going to a sex party, I want to be disrespected.
Yes.
But respectfully. So yeah. So you like check your, like you literally, all you can wear is a jock or you can be naked.
Okay.
And you check your clothes, you check your phone at the door, you check, they give you a bag, you put everything in it, it has a number, and then you just kind of, like I have my socks, so my socks were stuffed with lube and like lollipops, because I love a lollipop, gum, gotta have your gum, lip balm. So I stuffed my socks with the things that I absolutely needed, and then everything else was in my little bag. I had my watch on me in case, like, because a friend was meeting, and like, so I like to have my, you know, so they can text.
But your husband and boyfriend did not go.
They didn't go to that. Okay. No, it was just me and my besties. A couple of my besties went, which I love. I love a girls' night.
But how do you get invited to this?
How did I get invited to this?
Like text? Party full?
I think somebody told me about this party, and then I did some research on the Instagrams and then sent my information in.
And so how does it work as far as like STDs or STIs?
Sure.
Like how does that work?
Yeah, so there's lube and condoms that are provided, but there's also like I am on PrEP and I have DoxyPep, which DoxyPep is basically described as like the morning after for STIs.
Wow.
Which can protect against gonorrhea and chlamydia. Not necessarily, it's more effective on chlamydia than it is gonorrhea, but not protective against syphilis. So for sex parties, I always say, like, if you go to a sex party, then go get tested. You know, you get tested before, you get tested after. If anything comes up, you're able to take care of it, and you would probably go get tested like a week or so after, because it takes that much time for it to show up. But that's part of, I think, just like being, you know, an adult, a sexual adult. You know, when I say we're hoes with heart and hoes who care about our health. So
the best kind.
You know, like go be a slut, but then go get tested.
So if you were to fall for someone at this sex party, is there room for another person in your?
For me, no, not right now. Not that I couldn't, but like it would be unfair to them. Yeah. Like my husband and my boyfriend take up a lot of my time, and my career takes up most of it. So I think to have a third person, to me, what would be doable is, and this is how my boyfriend started. My boyfriend was in a relationship before, so it made sense because we both had our partners. So like it would make sense if somebody was in a relationship and I'm not their sole focus. But if it's another person that's single, then I just feel like I have too much going on and I wouldn't be able to give to them in the way that I would want to.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you don't know who you're having sex with before this. You just go in and you're like whoever you vibe with.
And some people you would recognize. You're like, oh, I know you, which is my favorite. I love fucking people that I know. Yes. Because it always just gives me like an assurance.
Totally.
But then there's some people you're like, it's literally a primal connection. You're just like, you're hot. I like you. Shall we? It's so liberating. If
more people lived in the way that we'd have just a happier, healthier.
Because pleasure forward, like it's you know about your pleasure, and you're not using sex as an escape. It's just we're in such a puritanical culture that we're not allowed to say that we want this. And especially if you add womanhood to it, you're not allowed to say it. If you add queerness to it, or even being queer, like if you're a gay man, people are more accepting of your promiscuity. But I think if you start going into other facets of the queer community, then it's like, are you allowed to? And then like, should I be as promiscuous? Like that feeling.
Yes.
I know a lot of gay men express not wanting to have sex as often as it appears gay men should be having sex, which to me, I'm like, do you don't
babe.
have to do what everybody else is doing. Like, what do you need? If you need emotional connection, then get emotional connection.
Yes.
If you just like want to be in the alleyway, go to the alleyway, but like know what you want and go after that.
But even tops and bottoms, like I would hate to be just like a top for the rest of my life. I
yes.
never, like I feel
explore.
like
I know I was just a bottom and then I started exploring and now I'm verse and I love that I can do what I want when I want to. It's liberating.
I need you in my life just every day. Like, I just think this is unbelievable. Okay, I'm going to ask you 2 audience questions about sex.
Yeah.
Okay, here's the thing. My partner loves sending, this is literally word for word, sending enthusiastic texts in the middle of the day. But I'm always in work mode and I don't know how to respond without sounding like a robot or shutting him down and hurting his ego. How do I keep the spark without having to sex during meetings?
Oh, I love that question because this is like a mismatch of kind of sex drive.
Yes.
Because I'm the same way. When I'm in work mode, you can't.
Me neither.
I don't.
Me neither.
Nothing turns me on.
Me neither.
So the first thing I would say is like over communicate that, and obviously not when the text has been sent because that's not the right time. But like in a low stakes moment, be like, I want to keep this spark alive. Maybe you send me the like maybe the texts come after 5 p.m.
Right.
And we can agree on that. Or like send me a midday text, but just know that I won't respond. And it's not because I don't think it's sexy, but I'm just in work mode. So like that over communicating.
It's not me, it's you.
Yes.
Or it's not you, it's me. Yes.
Yeah. Like I think that's like a place to start is to like, well, let's talk about it and see. My mom always says like create a win-win situation. So no one has to lose here, but like we can both negotiate and compromise a little bit so that we can both get what we're actually looking for.
Right. Like I'm on my lunch break from like 12 to 12:30.
Yes.
Like, yeah.
Send me all the texts then or whatever.
Totally.
Because really what the text or the sext is a bid for connection.
Yeah.
At the base of it. It's like it's not just like a dick pic. It's like, oh, I want to connect you to you and let you know that I think you're sexy and I want you to tell me I'm sexy. And so like that's the conversation we need to be having. How can I make sure you feel sexy in the middle of the day?
Over communicate.
Yes.
I love that.
Yes.
Do you find that you are less sexually driven when you're smoking weed or more?
More.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on which strain, right?
Yes.
Strains do matter.
They matter, baby.
Matter.
Yes.
But yeah, I prefer sex with weed because it just like relaxes my body, heightens the body sensation, and like helps me just like stay out of my head.
And THC lube is amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. I know.
Yes.
I know.
Also, sex edibles. There's a. I'll send you a screenshot. There's a.
Right now.
I've been trying a bunch of edibles, but there's one I found that I'm obsessed with.
Can you just be my guru in life?
Yes,
like, can
please.
you just teach me everything from like the clinical
Messy
trials
mom,
of allergies? Please.
Yes.
I need you.
Yes.
I'm like, we were meant to meet.
Absolutely.
Okay. I've been married for 6 years and have never had an orgasm with my husband without using a vibrator. Okay. Can I keep going on like this, or is this something I should try to work on with him? And how and when do I bring it up? And do I say I've been faking it our entire relationship?
I love that question. So one, I would recommend the book Sex Talks, The 5 Conversations to Transform Your Sex Life. It's by Dr. Vanessa Marin, who I had on the pod. I think it's like the 3rd episode, and I think it's called something with titties.
Okay, love that.
But we were having conversations about that. And Dr. Marin specializes in helping women orgasm, but also this book was how do you have these conversations? So you don't have, like, I think in the end of the book, she says, you don't have to say I've been faking it, but like kind of like a half truth. Like I listened to this podcast or I read this book. And so I want to try these things out is an easy way in. It's like, hey, her thing is also anyone who wants to have an orgasm gets to orgasm. So no, you don't have to live like this forever. I think it's a matter of having the conversation and saying, oh, it feels good when you do X, Y, and Z, or like, can we use my toys together, and kind of making it more. We tend to try and say what we don't want, and that is what I think tenses everybody up, because now we're in criticism mode.
And there's shame.
Yes, as opposed to what do you want? And so me being able to say what I do want, which also, by the way, a lot of times when I ask you to tell me what you want, you may not know. So this person might have to do that work first. Like what would bring you to orgasm during sex? If you know that, then you can communicate that to your partner. And make it a game, make it sexy. Like, it turns me on when you do this. I love when you play with me and my toy together. Like, make it passionate, and I think that it will,
and not like so clinical. Like I am not doing this.
Yes, With the difference between like I have never orgasmed, I've been faking it, and like let's fix it, versus
a collaborative experience. Could you imagine? I'd be
like that immediately shuts a person down, as opposed to it really turns me on playing with my toys, and I would love if you played with my toy on me, or like
yes.
There's you're talking differently. There's a sexualness, and it's an invitation, and that's that's going to give you the best results.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Last one is, so my partner loves enthusiastic dirty talk.
Ooh,
that's a way, okay? But I keep fumbling my words and sounding like a nervous game show host. Okay. I love that for you. How do I get better at this without feeling like I'm bombing a performance? Is there a phrase that always works for you?
I think one, you say it, that is going to immediately dissipate the shame. It's like, hey babe, I want to do this dirty talk with you, but I feel like a talk show host.
Right.
So like bear with me as I figure this out. Or like what turns you, what do you want to hear? You know, so like I can get some like stock responses.
I feel like often they'll say what they want to hear.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like, yeah.
So like I think like having that conversation low stakes when you're not in the middle of trying to do it is the first thing, right? Because I find that like when you name the thing that you're struggling with, suddenly it doesn't feel as big.
Yes.
Right? But like it's when we try to fix it ourselves without involving the person we're trying to fuck, that's when it starts to like get too big and and we start to fumble. I bet as soon as you say it, you're going to fumble less. The other thing is, I think when in your downtime, like think about sexy responses, which are, what do you want the person to do to you? I want you, and I always say like, so if I want the person to eat my asshole, then so they want to eat my butthole, then I might just switch out the words. I want you to taste my hole.
I love that.
Simple, right?
I love that.
Like it's like what is the thing that you want them to do that you would write in your English essay, and then swap out some of those words for something more colloquial, something that's dirtier, and then you have your sentence.
Like for me, the word pussy like doesn't sound right coming out of my mouth.
Sure.
Right? Like it doesn't make me feel turned on because I'm like that word doesn't really resonate with me.
Yes.
So I'm always like, what do you call a dick?
A dick.
In dirty talk.
I mean, for me, a dick, I would say dick in dirty talk. Some people like the word cock. Some people prefer to use, I want your penis inside me, or like whatever.
Like the anatomical.
Yeah.
The
like
government term, yes.
Either of it works. You might even name it. Like you're like, like I have a partner who, their dick is named Heavy. So like if your dick, if your dick has a name,
my vagina, period.
Yeah.
Here on out, it's got a name because we only have two. We got vagina and pussy, and they're they live on opposite sides of the street.
Yes. So
like,
you might say it's Ella.
Shit.
Ella misses you.
Forget it. Ella Enchanted. Ella Enchanted misses you.
Right? Like, so, like, you and your partner have that secret language. And so, like, when you message Enchanted misses you, like, everyone's like, oh, fuck. So I think that's my best advice for dirty talk is write what you want to say in English and then switch out some of those words for something dirtier. And then memorize that. Yes, exactly. Yes. Honestly, ChatGPT probably has some thoughts too.
For sure. Oh my God, that is amazing. Okay, if you could have an unlimited supply of one item for the rest of your life, but it couldn't be money, what would it be?
Ooh, unlimited supply of what?
Of anything.
But it couldn't be money. Oh, it'd be food.
Food.
Yeah.
Right? Hello?
Yeah. I like to eat.
Me too. Like thin French fries.
Yeah, I immediately was like French fries and burgers and chocolate chip cookies.
I feel like that's the natural stuff.
Because that's what I'm spending my money on. And like literally when my accountant and I talk, it's like Ubers and food.
Me
they're
too.
Like you don't buy anything but Uber and clothes and food.
I just don't feel like driving, or I have to like do some work while I'm in the backseat of the car.
Or deal with parking. So I'm like, I'll just Uber over there.
Me too.
Because that's the thing with LA. It's like the parking
and
then I'm like, well, if I'm going to spend $15, $20
on
valet, might as well just
100%. I'm the same way. Yes. And then I get everything delivered. Everything, period.
DoorDash, Postmates, Uber One should like sponsor me because the way that I like will cycle through those girls.
I think we were twin souls that literally just came.
We had to be.
Like this is crazy. I've never had a guest that I'm like, oh my God, I do all this shit. Oh my God, I'm gonna stalk you. You're gonna be my best friend.
Oh my God, I can't wait.
Okay, if your personality were a seasoning, which one would it be?
Oh, a seasoning? Oh, it's going to be like, for me, it's going to be like a sazon. It's going to be, because I always like my grandmother, whenever she would make anything, we would like have sazon on it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, just like mix it into the salt. It's Latin. It's like a Latin seasoning.
Okay.
Yeah. So like sazon,
like
adobo.
Oh, okay.
Like that. Like we're Caribbean, so very close to each other. So I
Okay.
feel like that would be, because it always adds like the right amount of salt, but like the right amount of like other spices. And like
Yes.
whenever you bite into sorry, look at me, I'm drooling.
Yeah, no. I'm like, I'm starving.
I'm like, ooh, some sazon. Like it's the most satisfying like taste whenever
Ooh, I need some of that in my life.
It's like perfect seasoning. Like you want to feel fancy, just put some sazon on that. And
Where
like
did you get that? The grocery store?
grocery store, yeah. Like go into like the like Latin spices, which is like usually, you know, because there's that grocery aisle that's like Asian spices, Latin spices. It's right over there.
Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. Okay. One last question. If you came with a warning label, what would it say?
Ooh. It would be like likely to be incredibly vulnerable and want emotional connection.
I love that.
Like that would be like, if you're gonna engage with me, I'm
small talk, forget it.
We can't do it.
Me neither.
Like vulnerability and like open-heartedness and like tell me the things.
Yes.
You know, like that.
Tell me your traumas.
Yeah.
Like, let's go.
The small talk to me, that's why I'm like, small talk is good for like work events.
It kills me.
It kills me, but I'm like, I'm getting a check, so like I'll come here and I'll do the small talk. But if I'm choosing to be here, if I'm choosing to take the time out of my day, out of my career, my husband and my boyfriend to spend time with you,
it's so true.
Honey, you're gonna have to tell me something. We're gonna have to talk. We're gonna have to share. We're gonna have to get into the weeds with each other.
And our innermost demons. Like,
yes,
that's like, yeah,
yes.
100%.
I want all of that. And I you know, because you can really move through life not going beyond the surface. Especially in Los Angeles, honey, right? And it's like so whenever I get to go beneath the surface with people, it's like I'm here, I can hold it. Like,
and you've made a career out of it.
I have, yes.
It's unbelievable. I mean, this was the most fun I've had in
This was
years.
so easy.
Thank you so much for doing
this was wonderful.
With me.
I know, I love your couch. I love a couch moment.
You know, just like
it's great.
Thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you for having me.
You're the best. Thanks, guys.